This is Audiobooks with Anna, and I'm your host, Anna Clements. In this episode, we chatted with Johnny Heller to find out about his splendiferous workshop. Johnny is a highly respected audiobook narrator, actor, and coach, and we had several people come up and ask him some pertinent questions. Hello and welcome, everybody. We've been joined by the inimitable Johnny Heller today. We're hopefully going to chat about Johnny and about all things splendiferous. Do come up and chat with us. I'm hoping this will be a very happy hour of just conversation about audiobooks and life. Without further ado, welcome, Johnny Heller.
Well, thanks very much, Anna. Always a pleasure. You guys know Anna's one of my dear friends. We've known each other many years, and I just love her. So there.
I've just learned how to do sound effects on Clubhouse, so we may get several of those. Johnny, for the sake of the audience, can I just take you back before we start with Splendiferous and talk about you? And I'm after a very particular story that I can never hear enough about how you got into voice work.
Oh, the audition thing?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us.
All right. Well, I was an equity actor, stage trained. That was my dream, to go around the country and for $150 a week playing puck. So I worked with as many people do, with an acting guru in Chicago. I was studying at Second City. I was doing stand-up comedy, taking acting classes with my guru. In those days, all the commercial voice. So I didn't know anything about commercial voiceover at all. And all the commercial guys were these deep voiced, voice of God men. They're always these deep voiced men, and that's what he was. And he had his agents come to his workshop to watch, and they liked me. They said, he's got a quirky voice, which I still have, and they liked it. And no one had that. So they had me audition for this big spot, Campbell's Soup. And this is, you have to understand, before internet, as a matter of fact. So the ad team, it came from New York. They interviewed in New York, went to L.A., interviewed in L.A. I think they may have interviewed in Dallas or Houston, and then finished up in Chicago. And they met everybody, every voice they could for this Campbell National spot. And the spot, and I got the job. They got to Chicago and they gave me the job. And the job was, I can still do it to this day. I remember it. Here it is. I'll do it right now. That was it. They traveled to all the big cities. I think it was just a drinking junket. And I said, why don't you just hire your brother or so? Anybody can. And I still think, what about the people how did you screw up that audition? You walk out thinking, no, I don't think I did a good job. I said, what? I don't know how you can mess it up. But apparently my was the winner, which is just remains ludicrous. And it's a great reminder to this day of how absolutely bizarre commercial voiceover and voiceover in general can be. There's so many things you have how in the world is my better than anyone else's?
Well, I would have paid to have heard it, Johnny, and I'm only sorry that it's no longer available. But I absolutely love that story.
I also did a dog voice. Those little treats that come out there. I forgot who has it. It's a bunch of dog treats, and they're in a jar, and you press a button, and it pops out of the jar, and the dog runs up and gets it. So all these people auditioning for voices of different breeds. So I was like, woo! And I got that too. I'm thinking, this is a great career.
I have got to ask, can you give me an example of two different dog breed barks? Are these voices?
Well, the one I got was a terrier. I went, woo! That was all. That was and the other guys were, woo! A deeper voice. To be honest with you, half the things they ask you to do for on camera or voice are just absurd.
Indeed. But well said, sir. Well said. I think it's a testament, to the ludicrousness, as you mentioned, of some of the things we do. And I need to ask then how the break into audiobooks, with regards to you being a serious actor, how that felt. It's something that's coming up a lot for me at the moment about different people's feelings about how they fit within the industry and whether or not acting is acting. Do you enjoy narrating audiobooks, Johnny?
Yeah, damn right. Yeah. It's interesting because in the actual acting of it, it's as close as you can get to organic theater acting. There's a script and there's an unseen audience, but an audience nonetheless, that you have to play to, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. and it's you. It's like when you were a kid and you thought about wanting to be an actor, you wanted to play all the roles. You wanted to be everybody, and here's your chance to do so. What I find interesting that I've discovered over time is that while it is theatrical in its elements, the fact of it is it's very cinematic in its performance. Because unlike theater, everything has to be much smaller. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, I have so many students all the time, and we have a chat like we're having right now, and all of a sudden it's okay, read something, and all of a sudden there's this some new person came in, and I'm like, who the hell is that? That's their acting person, their acting persona, and it's crazy. That there's no need to be different than what you are. But I find, yes, I truly, to answer your question, I truly like it. I've always liked it. I just think it's a chance to really not only share a story, but share literature to make people more well read, which can only help. I know they want to ban books in Florida, but I think if you're going to ban a book, everybody should go read it before you ban it.
Absolutely.
The very idea is nauseating, but I think that for me, it's the most honorable way I can continue to be an actor. It just checks all the boxes for me, except for the lack of a live audience, which I
Yes. Well, the best I can do is give you a round of applause here. That's all I've got.
the noise.
That was a silent one. Hold on. Bear with. There we go. Talk to me then, Johnny, about just as a segue. Everybody knows we're getting to Splendiferous, but bear with us. As a segue, give me an example of what you think the difference is between a one-to-one class and a workshop, and why one might want to do one or the other.
Well, obviously, in the one-to-one, working specifically with you, the scripts you bring, and the issues you have. And I know, like your beloved Sean has, and my friend Joel have these long-term workshops. It's like I think Sean, you spend 5 years to get a certificate, and every month you work on something else, like the documentary voice or whatever. It's set up that way. I'm much more what you call tactical. I work one-on-one with the issues that you have on this particular bit of copy or this particular genre of audiobook, and it's one-to-one on stuff you want, and it's very specific to you, and it's just you and I chatting as we are now. In a workshop system, what I like to do is I know what I like, and I know who I am, and I know what I can teach, and people know me. I like to bring in top flight coaches into my workshops, people that you may not get on a one-to-one, maybe even don't offer one-to-one, but they've done a lot of work, and they've done a lot of coaching, and they're really well recognized in the industry, and see how they talk about things. And I do these panels where we discuss, and I try to make the panels interesting. I try to bring them up to date, what people want to know now. And I try and have these people talk about what they think. Because a lot of times, if I say to you whatever it is I say, and it sinks in, wonderful. But then if you hear it again from Scott Brick or Hillary Huber or Dion Graham or other people I've had, you hear it and say, oh, that's what Johnny meant. Or they don't think of Johnny at all. It goes, oh, Johnny should have said it that way. Sometimes you just need to hear things, even if it's the same thing. Like Paul Rubin and I are almost exactly the same in what we want from the actor and how we view this. But we have totally different techniques. So if the Johnny Heller technique, whatever that is, doesn't seem to get it for you, maybe if you hear Paul say, and that's, I think, the advantage of the workshop, because you have all these different wonderful talents together working with you for the same purpose, to up your game, to make you better at this, and to answer some questions. It's the same way when you're in college. A certain teacher would say something that just didn't sink, and another teacher would say the same thing a little bit differently, and somebody goes, oh.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of oh moments in a workshop.
Yes, we talk a lot in this room actually about the timing. Timing is key, isn't it? Sometimes as you say, you'll hear somebody say something 3 or 4 times, and finally a fourth person will say it, and you'll go, oh, I get what you mean, whether it's because they've said it differently or you were ready to hear it.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. It's kind of funny. I'll tell you. You know what? That happens to Joanna all the time. Joanna Perrin is really gifted narrator, and I'm not just because she's my wife, but she's very good, and she's a great coach. And a lot of times at the New England retreat, she'll work with someone, and they'll say, "Oh my God, what you said really resonated. I'm really going to do that. I can't wait to go home and coach with you." But then they don't, and they'll sign up for so, not that it's wrong, but it's so odd that somebody. I think that if someone says something that opens the door for you, you should consider maybe giving them a session or work with them a wee bit.
Very much so. It is. It's that connection, isn't it? Sometimes with a particular coach that I think certainly a workshop allows for you. If there are people there that you haven't worked with, it's a great opportunity to see how different people, their styles, what they're offering, and let you decide then to go off and actually book a solid hour with them because what they said resonated. It's important to do.
Absolutely.
I have put a pin at the top of the room for those of you who are newer to Clubhouse. If you pull to refresh, it's called, which is basically a pull down and let go on your screen, you'll get the pin at the top, which is the Splendiferous Narrators Workshop link to the website that tells you what's going on that day. So you can take a look for yourselves while we're chatting. And you can see there the list of the people that are going. So we've got Sean Pratt, Joanna Perrin, Hilary Huber, Scott Brick, Paul Rubin, obviously Johnny Heller, Joe Hempel, Will Demerit for the first time, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to know, I have so many questions for you, Johnny, and I don't even know where to start.
Don't forget to be there, Anna. And so Helen Lloyd and Matthew Lloyd Davies.
Yes, sorry. Yes, there's a Brit panel, which we're very excited about. Actually, we had a Zoom meeting about it yesterday, so thank you for that. But talk to me about the organization, because bringing together this many narrators into one space and then this many coaches and people to speak on panels must be quite some juggling. What's that like?
It's fucking awful.
Thank you.
Okay, here's how this works. I started the Splendiferous workshops, I think in 2015, because everybody was coming to New York for the APA meetings and things. And somebody said, Johnny, can you put on? They actually asked me, surprisingly. So I said, all right. So I did it at first at the Beacon Hotel on Broadway in 75th or 4th. And so what I like to do, I put together an agenda, which I become pretty good at because I do it for the New England workshop. Sean Pratt and I travel regularly, as you know, with fiction and nonfiction. And sometimes we bring Anna, sometimes we bring Joanna. And I do I'm really good at, I guess I'm good at the agendas, putting it together, what every day should have. And it's a loose agenda because I want to give room for the talented coaches and speakers to shape the conversation. I fear in this particular one that's coming up that I may have filled it up a wee bit much because it's been so long since we've been together gathering like this. And I may have kind of squeezed stuff in. So what I try to do, I try to first think, who needs to be there, and who have I not had for a while, and who are there? Like Paul Rubin's pretty much a constant. Scott Brick and Sean are constants. They're pretty constant. Joe Hempel, for example, is coming. I like a guy like Joe Hempel and some other people coming in because I worked with Joe when he started, and now he's become really a big name, particularly in the horror genre. And I want to talk about some of that, how he got there. And in the New England retreat, I bring in some people who have really stepped up their game to work with independent authors. And I want to hear what they can do. I don't want everyone to think, I'm always a newcomer. I'm always a newcomer. I'm always a newcomer. After a while, you've got some experience. And we want to know how you became successful. What did you do? That sort of thing. So I like to bring that out as well. So when I put together the agenda, I think I put together the agenda inside who fits. And sometimes I'll send a note to like Hillary. I say, Hillary, do you do this genre or not? And if she doesn't, certainly I won't ask her to speak on it. So I put together the agenda, which you can see on my site. One thing I want to concentrate on in this, unlike APAC and other things, this is all performance-based. We're not schmoozing and meeting publishers. But I'm interested personally in character voices. How do you play things? People always have questions. Now, Amanda Quaid, I don't know if you know her, she's delightful, and she's done when I did a virtual workshop, she did it. And she's wonderful. So I'm going to talk about character cheats. For example, let's say you have a book, and it says, the character said in his, South African accent. And you think, can't do that. And you go to YouTube and listen to South Africans. I can't do. So I want to know from Amanda, what do you do when you can't? The guy's French, and you suck at you sound like worse than Pepe Le Pew. What do you do? And I'm hoping that should be an interesting half hour. And we're going to follow that with a full hour all about character choices, fiction and nonfiction, because it's amazing how often that comes up with Amanda, William Demerit, I'm quite excited to work with, Scott, Hillary, Paul. And I'm gonna MC all of these things. So just cuz. And I think I'm hopeful that this will be a lot of fun. I want to get us out by 4:30 so we can all suit up for people who are going to the Audies. And, that's great. You should go. It's a wonderful time. Whether you're going or not, don't forget about the naughties. which is not an APA event. It's my event, and it's just a bar at Connolly's at 121 West 45th from like 7:30 till they kick us out. It's before, during, and after Audie's party, basically. So I'm letting you know about that. If you look at my blog, which is on my website, which I cleverly named johnnyheller.com, you can read all about what's happening.
Yeah, the blog is called For the Hell of It, isn't it? It's one of the links at the top of the page there, so people can search for that.
Yeah, that was what it was called. Psych.
Lovely. So on the day, what happens?
Okay. Well, first, I'll tell you a quick short story about how I found this place.
We love stories, so thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, first, we had been on the east side at Baruch College, and the east side, going in Manhattan from the east to the west when you're in a hurry is awful. Also, there were some issues that this sounds bad, but I just couldn't trust them that they were actually going to even unlock the door in the day I needed them. So I wasn't sure. So I found some other places. I found a theater in off the 50s and Broadway, but you can't eat in the theater, and the lobby wasn't big enough for the number of people I think we're going to have. So I couldn't do that. And I was going to do a theater on 42nd Street, which would have been great. West 42nd was perfect. But then when the contract came out, there was all these heinous contractual agreements that I didn't know about and didn't want. I had to use their caterer, and they never told me. When I asked how much catering stuff was, they said, well, sign the contract and we'll talk about it. I'm like, what? So I didn't do that. So a friend of mine suggested, hey, why don't you try the Stephen Wise Free Synagogue, which isn't free, but it's called that. It's at 68th off Central Park West, which is really pretty. And we can, if it's a nice day, and who knows, we can bring our little lunches out to the park. But it's literally across the street from Central Park. So I go there to meet him. That's very nice. And we're not in the synagogue. We're downstairs in this big auditorium, kind of like everybody's high school auditorium, like everybody's gymnasium, basically, in high school. Well, I don't know about UK, but here in America. And so it's going to be just swell. And the lady in charge, Ms. Goldberg, she was wonderful. She goes, okay, here's the thing, though. You can have milk with your coffee, but you can't have sandwiches with meat or poultry. And I said, okay. So we have a wonderful little catering menu. It's going to be fine. It's all kinds of there's going to be interesting sandwiches, but no meat or poultry, and you're not allowed to bring. That's what I wrote. You can't bring nuts, or you just can't do it. And I said, I have a question about the meat thing. I said, this is my first time I've been in a synagogue. I said, but didn't you guys make corned beef sandwiches? Isn't that you? So she said, well, what do you raise as? I said, Catholic. She goes, and you want to discuss food choices with me? We got some rules too, I guess. But anyway, well, I'm going to use their caterer. There's some really interesting sandwiches. There's a jerky eggplant or something. Just weird. I'm very excited to try these things. Yeah. But yeah, don't bring any trail mix or anything. Don't do it.
Okay, noted. Let me just do a room reset a second for anybody who's joined us since the beginning, because we've been going 20 minutes. We're chatting today with Johnny Heller about his Splendiferous workshop at the end of March in New York. If you have any questions, do pop up and talk to us. If you have any thoughts or any other comments you want to make, or any questions directly for Johnny, please do feel free to come up and chat with us. Johnny, tell me what's been your favorite moment in this workshop specifically, because the Splendiferous is really separate, isn't it, to all the other stuff. You do so much stuff, the narrator's retreat and the workshops you mentioned that you travel around the country trying to go to everybody's hometown. Tell us what's your favorite thing about Splendiferous specifically.
I think one of the things I love about it the most is it was the first big workshop dedicated to performance, dedicated to everybody together with the same idea and whether you were a coach or an attendee, the same idea to see what you could learn from others. Like in the very beginning, I did directed readings where we did a lottery and people would read a couple pages from something and work with a coach. And I thought, what a great way to learn how coaches work. And what a great way to watch someone work with a coach and really learn, because it's like an acting class when someone does a scene and you work on the scene and you're not in the scene, but you learn so much. So I think my favorite thing is probably the directed readings, and also in every workshop, it's those aha moments. And also, and the final thing that I like a lot is it's always funny. I mean, there's always something. It's a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs. It's a really good time, and this is a perfect example of something that helps the entire community. I purposely try and keep the prices reasonable so everybody can go. I know some people are going, if you have a hard time financially with it, just let me know. We'll work it out. It's more important that you go than that I get your money. So all those things are important to me.
Melissa.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. I can't wait to attend the Splendiferous and everything else.
Oh, good. I miss your MK's wonderful. We love her. Just the best. MK, by the way, she does a wonderful thing about booth health regularly, which is quite valuable.
Yeah, we'll say semi-regularly, but yeah.
Every once in a while.
On occasion, on the rare occasion. Yeah, thanks, Johnny.
You're welcome.
And Anna, yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad you came up because have you been before to a Splendiferous now that you're here?
I've been to the virtual Splendiferous, but this is the first in-person. This is my first in-person APAC as well.
Wow.
So yes, so it will be. I am super excited. I've joined Johnny on other in other workshops in New England for several times, 3 times I think.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, those Johnny is just the best at putting these things together, and I don't know how he maintains composure, but somehow he does. And beard, whether he's bearded or unbearded or whatever he's up to,
I'm between the two right now.
We'll have to see what it is when we get there.
I don't like the beard when I don't mind growing. I don't like it when it's there because everything gets stuck in them. Everything. Food, like lunch, breakfast, your dog, everything. It just stays there.
I know. I hate when that happens. I have to wash my face all the time when I have a beard.
Shut up.
Well, I have a question. I just came up with one. It just popped into my head, mentioning that I've been to some of other of Johnny's events. So, is the Splendiferous sort of similar in style and how we go about it to some of the other workshops that I've been to?
It's probably similar to similar to New England in that there's an agenda you go to, not as we do fewer things in deeper detail in New England, but similar to the workshops that Sean and I put on when we travel, like the one in Florida. I think you've been to. I can't remember where you've been. Because it's you can look at the website. The agenda is right there, so you can see what's going to happen, and that's fairly clear. And sometimes we don't stick to the time allotted as much as we can. We have to get out. We have to get out. But I've made things half hour long all the time to get all the stuff in I want. But I guess it's similar. We're going to touch on things which I think will open the door to more conversation that needs to happen later. You know what I mean? I believe we're going to bring things up, discuss things, and we're going to find that we need to go deeper on some of these. And I'll learn that I need to include a longer discussion on such and such a topic at a different workshop.
I see. Yeah. So I guess my problem is I haven't looked at the agenda first.
Yes, no one does. I don't know why I bother to write.
I will now.
People just go sign up and then they ask me what's happening. I'm like, it's on the page.
Let me run through it now that we're here. It's underneath. So the issue is when you go on the website, it looks like there's the opportunity to sign up for the workshop, and then you have to actually keep scrolling to see the location, the information about no trail mix, no nuts allowed, and how to get there, the trains that arrive there, and the people attending, and lots of lovely photographs. And then just to race through the kind of the panels, there's the obvious. Well, I don't know about obvious actually, but panels on nonfiction research, characters that you mentioned and accents that Amanda Quaid will be doing, character choices for both fiction and nonfiction, the horror with Joe Hempel, Scott Brick and William Demerit, about your demo, what does it say about you? The performance basics, what are you forgetting, which I think is going to be a really interesting one, and then something completely different. There's also the opportunity to enter a lottery. Tell us about the lottery, Johnny.
Okay, what's going to happen is, first off, there's a lottery just by joining. You guys are in for some of those directed readings. There's going to be 6 of those. Not every coach is going to do it because of just time, basically. But there will be a lottery twice throughout the day where you enter, and you're entered just by signing up to win a half hour or an hour, depending on what the coach wants to give. So all of the coaches, Anna, for let's say you win an hour with Anna or something, so if I call Melissa K. Benson and she wins an hour with Anna, and then Byron wins an hour with Johnny, whatever just happens. So that's going to, so however many coaches we have is how many they're going to be in the lottery, as long as they'll give us time, as long as they want to. What if Paul Rubin says, no fucking way, I'm not doing it, then he won't be in the lottery. But he will. He won't say that. Yeah. So I think everybody said yes so far. I don't know if what Amanda said. I'll have to double check that. But anyway, pretty much all the coaches will have their name in the lottery, and you can win a half hour to an hour.
Wonderful. Can I ask then the other thing that's on the agenda for anybody who hasn't scrolled down? There is a section where there are readings available. So there's a list of like Scott Brick, Hilary Huber, and Sean Pratt at 10:30. We'll do 3 readings. How does that work?
What happens is, okay, let's say you're just an attendee, and I within the next after Valentine, probably late February, so you have time. I'll say, all right, here's who wins. Anna Clement will read with Scott Brick. Craig Abbott will read with Sean Pratt. Whatever. So I just pick your name out of a hat. Sandra Churchill will read with Hillary. So however it works out. And then if you say Kaylee Kirby reads with Johnny, for example. So and then say Kaylee says, I don't want to read in front of a bunch of people. And I'll say, okay. Then I'll pick Steve Corona can read. You know what I mean? You don't have to do it. But what it is, you'll pick something that you like. Let's say it's Kaylee, and she wants to do a fiction. She'll pick a couple pages of fiction, and we'll start, and then I'll work with her. And it's like 10 minutes each student, basically. So it's a little. So if you work Paul Rubin, you'll say once upon, and it goes, that's it, less.
Ain't that the truth?
So that's what it is. It's a lottery chance to work as you would in a scene study. It's your turn to do a scene. That's what it is. And you'll come up and we have 2 half-hour sessions of that.
So you may or may not read at this splendiferous.
Chances are you won't. Only 6 people will, and there's like 100 people coming.
Right, but everybody should bring a some excerpt from something that they would like to in case?
No, only bring it if you're selected, or if I say you're like a backup in case someone can't make it.
Okay, so we'll know that, like you said, on the 14th or so, or
yeah. Well, probably I get to a Chicago and I'm back. So the end of February, after the 20th, I'll do it.
Okay.
Here's the winners and here's the backups, and everybody prepare a couple of pages. So yeah, so if I pick Cara and she can't do it, so Sandra Churchill will do it. You know what I mean? She's her backup.
Got it. Boy, you've saved me a lot of time looking at your website. Thanks.
I do post all this shit,
we were looking to encourage people to go and have a look, weren't we? And we've taken that away. So I'm sorry about that.
You've enabled our laziness. Thanks.
That's right. Everybody do as little as is humanly possible.
Sophie Amos, Johnny, has just written in the chat that she remembers reading with you, Johnny, way back when. So possibly at one of the first Splendiferouses.
That was a long time ago, because Sophie's wonderful. Yeah. If you had asked me if I had coached her, I wouldn't have remembered having done so. I thought she was brilliant. I had no idea I was responsible. Yeah.
Totally. She is a rock star. I want to say, just since she's here and you mentioned it, Anna, that I'm listening to a book that she narrated, and it is so good. I can't stop listening. It's Whiskey When We're Dry. And she's so fabulous, and it's just such a great book. The language, the way the book is written, the kind of formal language that it's written in, and she just rocks every character. She is so good. Johnny, you did so good. No, Sophie's amazing.
Thanks. Sophie says thanks too.
But I love the credit where credit's due, Johnny, and all that.
I'll just take credit wherever I can. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Sophie says you did it all, Johnny.
He's wonderful.
We've been joined up here by Byron. Byron, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, the scene in the cartoons with Popeye where he goes, "That's all I can stands. I can't stands no more." As a victim, and I say that lovingly, of each of the Splendiferous workshops, with the exception of the first one, so far, I've been sitting in this audience for 33 minutes listening to all this promotional blather, and I thought it was time for a kind of what's the word? Unsolicited, accurate point of view from someone in the audience, and it goes like this. If you are anywhere within a day's ride, say 200, 300 miles of this workshop, and you don't attend, first of all, you are stupid poo-poo head, and you will regret it for the rest of your entire life. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sophie says, you tell him, Byron.
That's right. You poo-poo heads. Tough language from Byron right there.
To be honest, it was one of the first, in 2017, it was one of my first experiences of the industry. And Cara mentioned very early on in the chat that the sense of community that you get at one of these events is actually priceless. You know, it's part of the entire feeling that you cannot describe and you cannot get online and you cannot get any other way. So that was my takeaway, was the sense of community. And the sharing and the information and is all a perk and a wonderful perk. But the sense of community is really was the big thing for me.
If I leave anything behind, that is what I'd like to be known for. It means the world to me, truly.
Lovely. We've been joined by Alexander. You apparently it's your first week on Clubhouse, so do feel free to join us and share your thoughts with us. Your microphone is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I don't know if you had a question or a thought.
Yes, I did. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Anna. Johnny, I love you forever. I've been listening to you since I was like a kid. So you'll have to excuse me. I'm very nervous right now.
Yeah, I'm very intimidating. Be careful.
I attended one of your workshops and it was absolutely fantastic. Some of the insights that you guys gave really, really, really helped me in my narration. But I had a question because I'm relatively early on in my career, and it's just something that I noticed. And this is going to sound, I have to warn you in advance, this is going to sound like a really jerk question, and I swear it's not. So, you, Sean Pratt, Scott Brick, these titans, you all do workshops and stuff like that. And I get some work, but not a whole lot of work. I was just wondering, is it possible to live of just off narrations, or at some point do you have to, start doing workshops and coaching and stuff like that to kind of make ends meet? And I apologize again for this.
No, it's a very fair question. No worries at all. Yes, I can live. You can live. Many of us can live. Here's the deal. The SAG-AFTRA, the union responsible for negotiations, not everybody has to be in the union, but most contracts, all contracts of major publishers and minor publishers are go through SAG-AFTRA negotiations. So there is a standard rate that you can live on. I mean, probably easier in Oklahoma than in New York City, but in general, yeah, you can make a living. I happen to enjoy coaching. I enjoy the workshops. I enjoy putting it on, and now it's become it's taken on a life. I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't know there'd be, after one Splendiferous, I didn't know there'd be two. After one New England retreat, I didn't know there'd be 9 of them. I didn't know. Sean and I traveling together. I don't remember when we started that, but these things just kind of take a life of their own. But without them, I'd still be fine. I mean, it's nice. It's extra loot, but it's a lot of work. You don't have to coach. You don't. You do have to make crystal meth in your backyard.
Done and done. All right. Thank you very much, Johnny. And thank you, Anna.
No, you're very welcome. Do feel free to switch off your mic just so we don't get any feedback as we chat along. But if you have any other thoughts while you're up here on the sofa, all of you, do feel free to chip in. We've been joined as well by Jeannie. Thank you very much for coming up, and do tell us what your thoughts are.
Hello. Yes, I actually have a confirmation question from what we were talking about before. So I have been on the fence about attending the Audis. I want to go, and I like to get dressed up, and I want to rub elbows and all those good things. But this workshop seems like a really good use of my finances over that. If what I heard was right, that there's still some place I can go to be with other narrators and, like I said, rub elbows at the Naughties. Did I hear that right? That if I don't go to the Audis, that this is someplace I can go and still be with people in the community?
So I'm going to answer this one for Johnny, because I think we're going to struggle to say that you shouldn't go to the APA event and you should come to ours, or the where we'll be, as it were. But I'm actually going to hand this over to Byron to tell you what you might get from one and the other and how you might choose.
Great. Talk it to me, Byron.
Nothing like getting put on
No
the
pressure,
spot.
no pressure.
Okay, so it's an interesting choice and question. I think the simplest way to put it is this, and I'll try and be as straightforward and unbiased as possible. The Audies is great. It is expensive. On a certain level, it's a celebration for people that have nominees, dogs in the fight, all that other stuff. It's an opportunity to socialize. And on a certain level, it's a little bit of value signaling, as in this is a kind of selecting group of people who have said, I'm going to spend the money necessary, as well as physically, geographically be there, to both see and be seen and to indicate to others that I'm really, really serious about this work and I want to be considered as serious. But that's all kind of on a almost subliminal basis. The Naughties is a Wild West, shoot up, have fun, get drunk, fall on the floor way to celebrate, which is a little bit different, which does not require any of the above. It doesn't require monkey suits or the expenditure of large amounts of money. So what I do is I do both. And that's also a time-honored tradition. The people that start out have a head start in terms of the inebriation department, so that when the people start flooding in who are dressed in the attire that would indicate either rightly or wrongly that they did attend the Audies, hilarious hijinks and hilarities ensue. So the answer to me is go to both if you can, and if you can't, then you have no excuses whatsoever, and will be shunned by the entire community if you're in town and they know it and you don't show up to the Audies. End of sales pitch.
May I add one thing? Jeannie, if you want to, there's nothing like, if you've never been to the Audis, there's nothing quite like them. It's to dress up and to look great and to have cocktails and schmooze. It's a little irksome if you're not nominated, or if you are nominated and don't win. Those are all uncomfortable. It's like the Oscars, but it's fun, and you get to go to both. If you have I'll tell you right now, if you're having a financial issue between the Audis and the Splendiferous, then drop me a note and we can discuss it. I'll work something out that you can go to both if you want.
Thank you. Yeah, well, of course, definitely.
Well, so you follow me on Facebook, no?
Oh yeah, we're friends all over the place, Johnny.
So DMing. We'll talk after the shindig's over.
Okay, thanks everyone.
But if you can go, the Audis are, if you have a chance, it's a once in a lifetime fun thing. The Naughties is it's like your college frat party.
Okay. Thank you.
If you went to an incredibly cool college filled with audiobook narrators.
Yes, yeah. It's a bunch of audiobook narrators yelling really loud and complaining the next day how loud the bar was. Because it's a bar.
I love it. Thank you.
Talk us through a minute, Johnny, going back to the Splendiferous workshop a second. Talk us through some of the breakthroughs you've witnessed, because I certainly have, at the Splendiferous when people do those readings for some of the coaches.
What's amazing is this. It seems like if you work for an hour one-on-one with anyone, and you've been to my workshops, you know what it's like when we work, and we can spend more time. But it seems in this 7-minute, maybe 10-minute directorial and acting experiences, the shared, first off, there's an immediate sharing of trust. It's an unusual event because you're in front of a big group, but somehow they all fade into nothingness, and it's just you and the coach, or the coach and you, and there's this moment of shared trust, implicit, and the actor does something, the coach listens, says, let's talk about that, let's talk about whatever they want to say, and when they do it the second time, almost without fail, it is an aha moment. It's an amazing, you see a change almost immediately, almost every single time. And I find that to be just the bread and butter of that's what acting's all about. Watching the and a lot of times it's what the actor already knows, simply didn't do for whatever reason. And once they have that, my feeling is this: once you've raised the bar as an actor in a scene, in any kind of genre, anything, that's the new place for the bar. That's where it is. You don't have to go back. You know you can do it now. Have that confidence, and it's just amazing to watch people, and the change and the happiness and the feelings. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that, and the community of love and affection that greets the people when they're done. It's marvelous. It's just a wonderful thing to behold. It's kind of like Up with People without the shitty music.
Yes. I'm just going to take advantage of the last 15 minutes of the hour, which has gone by very quickly, to invite anybody from the audience to take advantage of the fact that Johnny Heller is here with us today, open and willing and able to answer any questions about Splendiferous or hopefully about anything, Johnny. I apologize for offering that without warning you. I hope that's okay.
That's fine. Anything.
Do come up and ask. It's a free and open chat. We're hopefully being joined by Brian Telestai.
Can I also just share, if you want to get hold of me, there's an email, johnnyhellervocoach@gmail.com. You can send it, or just Mr. Johnny Heller Gmail. I don't care which one. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm all over the place, and I'm happy to chat.
Through your website, if people actually clicked on the link and went to your website, is there a contact page there as well, Johnny?
I don't know. Let's see. Probably should. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to look. Contact. Yeah, there it is.
Cool. So there is it says mrjohnnyheller@gmail.com.
That's fine.
There is there is an email address there if anybody would like to get in touch. I don't know what happened to Brian. Maybe he raised his hand by mistake, but we have been joined by Amber. Amber, lovely to see you.
Hello. Hi, guys. I feel like, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like now you probably answered this question because I'm on a time delay. I was wondering, and I feel like I should probably know this. Do you do one-on-one coaching, or is it just like a workshop only now because you're pretty busy?
But do I personally do one-on-one coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah. On my website, it says coaching.
Okay. Well, then I will check it out there. Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah, I will say, unlike some of the other more scheduled coaches, you get to pick a time, and there's a calendar, and you write your name in. I don't do that because I don't know what my day's like, and I hate to be scheduled, and I don't want to be. So when you want to coach with me, we talk. Unless I know Amber, but if we talk 15 minutes and I get to know you a little bit, then we set up a time and go from there. But you can't plug in a specific time. You have to write me and talk about it.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Barbara Hensley says, Amber, Johnny's one-to-one coaching sessions are phenomenal. Sign up, which is praise indeed. We've been joined by Xavier. Thank you very much for coming up and joining us. What are your thoughts today?
Hi.
Let me jump on mic here. Hi, everyone. I wanted to jump up and say hi and spend a little time with you guys and chat with Johnny for just a sec and meet him because I don't think we've ever met like that. So, Johnny, I'm a career actor based here in New York City, and I know that you're a coach, and I'd like some of your thoughts on the different acting techniques and how they influence what we do as voice actors. As someone who studied for years growing up in New York City with all the different methods, Meisner, Stella Adler, and method and such, I found that they took me only so far as a voice actor. Past 7 years or so, I've been working the Michael Chekhov technique, and I found it to really be a breakthrough for me, I think because it's really all about the imagination. And how does the imagination connect to my body, being present at the moment and such? So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that and some of your thoughts on acting in general and how working on my acting stuff can influence my effectiveness as a voiceover actor.
Okay. I will try to handle this as best I can. I was a method trained, Stanislavski trained. And so that's where all my stuff comes from. Whatever, and I'll say this, and I think every reasonably successful actor will say the same. Whatever method you are trained in, whatever gets you to share the author's truth in an engaging and honest way with the listener or audience, whatever it may be, is wonderful. Is that Shirtliff? Is it Meisner? Is it Viola Spolin improv games? Whatever it is. And I always think it's a combination of things because whether you're trained in Meisner or trained in Shirtliff, it's still you. You're bringing yourself. And it's just through these techniques you probably find your truth. But I would say that Anna's truth and Byron's truth and your truth and my truth will all be playable if we're all honest to the author's intent. And I think that's the basis for it. I think you can't say this method is better for the voice actor than that method. I just think we all find our own ways to get there. And I think it's the job of a coach to recognize what the student actor is doing and how to take that and mold it into what needs to happen to tell the story. Because when it's all said and done, we just have to tell the story. And we start adding in all these things. I don't know if it's this technique, that technique, this, whatever. And all of a sudden, we start cluttering what is really a simple task, which is to tell the story. So I'm not sure that one technique is better than another. It depends on you and who you are. And I think all of our acting, however we learn it, wherever we learn it, whatever we do, is always influenced by the world in which we live, the people we are. And I just think it's a constant learning experience. You never stop. You can't say, like I studied as Stanislavski, as far as I know. Yeah, I didn't meet the guy, so I may have missed a few points, but everything's going fine. But I'm sure I've got elements of Shirtlev and elements of Miser in all the things I do, but I may not be aware that's what they are. Things happen, and it's, oh, that's Miser. Oh, okay, fine. I don't really care. Whatever gets me to where I need to be to tell my story. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I think.
Thank you for clarifying that for me and putting it in a great perspective for me, in that these techniques are designed to unlock me.
Yeah. And whatever unlocks you is what works.
Appreciate it so much. Yeah, for sure.
A pleasure. I feel so professorial.
Well, we're going to start wrapping up here. I'm trying to read the chat while chatting at the same time. I think it's how many people we've had in the room today, Johnny. So congratulations on bringing in the crowd.
Did I?
You did. And can I ask, thinking of which, is there a maximum number of people that can attend the Splendiferous?
I think the most I ever had was at Baruch College. I think we had 50, 180, something like that. That was a lot. I think this joint can hold, it should be 100. I imagine 120 wouldn't be, I don't know. Actually, I didn't get fill up as much. I already have 90 people, not including coaches. So I'm close to 100 people already. But I better send a note.
There might be a maximum, mightn't there?
Yeah, it was just pretty big to me. What I'll do is, if I'm near it, I'll just say, well, it's too late for you, and I'll just stop.
That's like a teaser. Get in while you can.
I bet it can do 200. She told me, but I forgot. That was a number that I didn't think we'd get to. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll double check. I'll try to let people know. I don't think we're in danger.
Lovely.
Not everybody in New York City who's going to the APA stuff is going to this thing too. There's other things happening. I mean, I'm not the only game in town.
Oh, I also know people that are actually going to the Splendiferous and not going to APAC. So interestingly, I think it pays your money and takes your choice. We've had a question in the chat from Laura Horowitz, who says it's a simple question. Should she fly into JFK or Newark if she's staying at the Marriott? As the New York boy.
I want to thank her. She does some wonderful video stuff. She's really, really excellent. I'm really impressed with her. She doesn't know, but I do watch their videos on Facebook and stuff. Flying to JFK or Newark? Well, it doesn't really matter. If you fly, so you're going to be staying at the Marriott. Let me think for a second. Newark is closer, but Newark always is fucked up in terms of just being a fucked up airport. JFK is further out, but it's easy to get in. There's a train to the plane. So if you want to save money, you follow the signs, the train to the plane, it's called. You get on it, and it takes you to the Jamaica station. And you could get a subway there right to Midtown, or you could take the train into, I think it takes you to Moynihan Station, which is about a 9-block walk from the hotel. So it's easy, or you can just get a car service. I always use JFK or LaGuardia. On the other hand, to be honest, there's also a train from Newark, too. It doesn't matter. Take the cheapest flight. Do that. The one airport's cheaper than another. Take that one.
We've got Craig saying he's flying into LaGuardia, so, it's best deals.
Yeah, everybody land. Let each other know when you landed, and then text again when you arrive, and then see who was fastest.
We've got lots of people saying they're very excited to come. Bethan, Dixon Bate, April Richwine, all saying that they're coming to New York and excited to see everybody, which I'm sure we all are. Lots more advice. Nicole Torrillo says, New Jersey Transit takes you from Newark Airport to Penn Station, New York. So there's lots of information to be had. And every 6 months or so, we seem to ask you to come along and chat with us, Johnny. So thank you very much for being here today. Is there anything you'd like to share about what you're doing at the moment or what you're up to?
I'll say one quick thing. There is a book I did recently. A friend of mine wrote it, the head writer for the Letterman show for years, Bill Sheft, called Tommy Phams is Something I Said. And it's very funny. It's a story of a comic. And I've already been paid. I'm not making any money for saying it, but it's really, really funny. And I want Bill to get the loot and the acclaim he deserves. It's very funny. It's on Audible. I would love for you guys to, it's just funny. It's a good story it's a true story of well, it's not true, but it's close to true, about what shitheads comics are and how fun we are. Yeah. So go listen to that book. That's all I'll say.
Lovely. Nancy Boba says, thanks. Tommy was great. 5 stars.
Oh,
that's worth knowing. People are listening. It's always
it's very funny, and there's a lot of funny jokes in it. I would tell you, we're out of time now. I'll tell you some of them.
Thank you very much. Yes, people are already saying they're going to pick that one up. Lots of people saying thank you very much and having to leave because it's the top of the hour. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's joined us during their lunch hour today. It's been an absolute pleasure, Johnny. Thank you very much indeed. Today we talked to Johnny Heller about his splendiferous workshop, and my takeaways: it will be worth being there. And thank you very much to everybody who contributed with their presence, with their conversation, with their questions, with their thoughts, their remarks, and just for listening during your lunch hour or your morning coffee or whatever it is you're up to. And thank you very much, Johnny Heller, for joining us today, and hope it's a hugely successful conference for you. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Johnny Heller. Splendiferous won't be happening in 2024, but we'll be back for 2025. Thank you very much for listening in and joining us on this podcast. Do remember to like and subscribe. Apparently that's a thing. Further details are in the show notes. I have been your host, Anna Clements, and if you'd like to work with me or need any further information, do get in touch. Thank you for listening.